Here's a recap of the last episode of Lake Fork Unplugged. Veteran bass angler Bob Roberts of Longview, Texas, fished the hardcore leg of the Lake Fork Bass Anglers Club tournament. Now, hardcore is the type of tournament that breaks a lake into thirds. An angler that fishes this tournament is required to fish a different third each time. Now, a tournament like this can really make you learn the lake. Believe me, it can also be rewarding and severely painful at the same time. His plans were to pre-fish Tuesday and Wednesday. The actual tournament took place on that Thursday, which is January 10th, 2019. His weather conditions for that day were mostly cloudy, a high of 53 degrees and a 40-degree low. He was also supposed to have a east-southeast wind of 5 miles per hour. Now, Bob initially planned to fish in Running Creek. That was his choice. He was familiar with that area. There's a creek channel in there and a point, and he wanted to come in there and fish that creek channel for about 2 hours. His plans were to do that and then check out Coffee Creek, which is just due east of there. He wanted to go north of the 2966 bridge because he felt like he had an area up in there that had a little bit clearer water just north of that bridge. So that was the plan last week. However, when he woke up Thursday, all that had changed. The weather had changed completely. So this episode deals with what changes available that Thursday morning. And what we really want to look at is the thought process that Bob went through in order to make the changes that eventually led to a tournament win. Now, this doesn't happen every time, but it did this time. So this is what it is. Okay, last week the plan was to pre-fish Tuesday and Wednesday, and you're going to go to this area right here. Right. But I understand you were distracted by a hamburger and didn't make it there.
More than a hamburger, actually. No.
Well, y'all had, now you were fishing with Bruce Allen, right?
Yeah, I fished with Bruce, that's correct.
So, what was it that made you decide that that was not the place to go?
Headed up the lake, and it was blowing about 30 miles an hour out of the south, right straight up the lake. And I thought, I don't really want to do that. And it was 1 o'clock. And
well, I mean, the wind right in there, it'll blow right, I guess it would blow right in there if you're right in there.
It would have been, once you got up in there, the wind wouldn't have been too bad. But we'd had the sort of day I expected. I didn't really expect, I didn't have a high confidence in that area back there anyway. I just wanted to go check it out. So
yeah,
I just decided, heck with it, let's go get a hamburger.
Well, so y'all went you went to a couple of different places.
Yeah. We
that day, this is Tuesday, you went to where?
Oh, where did we start? We started at the Minnebucket.
The Minnebucket?
Yeah. We launched at the Minnebucket and fished our way up the lake. This time of year, and it's been...
Now, Tuesday, you didn't catch anything, is that right?
Tuesday, I caught one and had another one on.
Okay. Yeah. So it was Wednesday y'all didn't catch anything.
Yeah, Wednesday did not get a bite. And we covered some of the same water Wednesday that we covered Tuesday, just giving them a second chance, thinking that the circumstances might be a little different. But
right.
Anyway, it was kind of slow.
Now you're using a red rattle trap and a red spinnerbait.
And a red spinnerbait, yes. 1/2 ounce rattle trap.
Yeah.
The crawdad pattern.
7 to 1.
7 3 to 1.
3 to 1 ratio.
Yeah. And I wind it pretty fast. I'll slow it down, but
right.
You can't wind it fast enough to keep it away from them if they decide they want to taste it. So.
Yeah. So I mean, on that Wednesday, I mean, what was the key for you to decide to go to Glade Bay?
Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday. Just an area of high confidence.
Just because you've been in there before.
Yeah, I knew where to go, and I knew several spots that historically held fish, and that's just where I felt like we could do some good.
Yeah.
So that's where we went.
Well, when the fishing gets tough, I mean, you go back to what you, and that's, I guess that's what it was.
That's what you fall
Yeah.
back on what's worked for you in the past.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how did Bruce do? I mean, he did not catch anything.
He didn't get a bite.
He didn't get a bite all, what, that day, that Thursday, or
He didn't get a bite any of the 3
any
days.
of the 3 days?
Yeah, yeah.
Whew, man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of people this time of year, when the fishing gets tough, they think, well, I need to change baits. No, you don't either. That's
Yeah.
because, if you cannot beat a rattle trap and a spinnerbait. Some people will say a jig works real good, and it does. But if you're throwing one of those 3, there's no sense in putting on a wacky worm or anything else, because those are going to be your high percentage baits.
Yeah.
That's what you have to be working on, is those percentages, and make a bunch of casts.
Well, y'all went up in Rogers Creek too, didn't you?
Yeah, we went all the way through Rogers, which I really expected to catch some fish there.
Yeah.
We hit the point on the north side and went all the way around back down to the boathouse on the south side and did not get a bite. And Rogers has been being pretty good to me. I caught an over in there in September, and we've been catching a lot of small fish, but did not catch a single fish out of it.
Not one fish in Rogers.
Not one bite even.
My goodness.
Yeah. But it was earlier in the day, so that's another thing you got to take into consideration this time of year, is the time of day, because you want to be I want to be in my best places from at least noon on, preferably 11 on.
Yeah.
Because that's when you're going to catch fish. The percentages get better the later in the day. I go out in the morning, and what I try to do in the morning is not get discouraged because I'm not catching anything.
Right, yeah.
That's a lot to that.
Bob Roberts fishes Lake Fork Anglers Bass Club. This particular club posts the results on their site. I've also found that a good way to access tournament information is to just simply go to basstournamentfinder.com. BassTournamentFinder.com is a good way to actually access information throughout the entire continental United States. For instance, in BassTournamentFinder.com, you select a region, whether it's the northwestern region, the southeastern region, I mean, anywhere in the United States. In particular, Lake Fork is located in the south central region. So you basically click on that site there, and you decide which month you're interested in, whether it's January through December. In our particular case, that tournament is in January, so you click on January, and then you find Lake Fork Anglers Bass Club on the 10th of January. You scroll down here to the 10th, and here it is. Now, this has all kinds of tournament information on here, like there's open tournaments, FLA, cast, media bass, a lot of the bass clubs are on here. But it's just a good way to find information for tournaments. Like if you don't have any place to fish, there's plenty of places on here that you can go and get information for. Okay, let's talk about the Lake Fork Anglers Bass Club for just a second. It's a great little club. They meet their weigh-in is at Minnebucket on Thursdays. If you're around at 3 o'clock, you can come in there and watch what they have. It's a good group of folks in there that really seem to have a good time. I'm not a member of a bass club, mainly because I don't have a lot of time. If I did, I'd be a member of this club. Now, you can come in here. They have actually a results page that you can go in, and it goes back to standings back in 2014. And in particular, the group, what we're following is the hardcore category, and they will have a tournament. Hardcore has a tournament the first and the third Thursday of every month. Now the LFA, which is Lake Fork Anglers, they have a tournament the second and fourth Thursday of the month. And so anyway, now we're basically following hardcore because the thing I like about it, they fish the entire lake, and so you're required to learn the lake, and so everybody has a disadvantage at some point in time. Now, in particular, the results that we're looking at was on the 10th right here, and so what we're going to do is we're going to pull up the results, and this is the results for that date. It has the date and everything in here. And in particular, here's Bob at the top first place. Now that doesn't happen every time, I promise you, but it happens a lot with him. So that's why we're trying to learn from this guy. So at any rate, it's a great club, and if you're looking for a bass club, I highly recommend it. Where was that? Well, show me what area that was
Go
in.
to the 550 or 154 ramp on the Caney Creek side.
154, okay. Highway 154.
Right.
Caney Creek.
That's it, right where the public, right there on the end of the point.
Oh man, I can't believe that's where you caught that thing.
Well, I didn't catch it there. I caught the one I won with there.
Wait a minute. Now say that again.
Okay. I've been catching a lot of good keeper fish. Throwing a 3/8 ounce white tandem willow leaf spinnerbait.
Now this, what time of year is this?
It's in October.
October.
Yeah. So I launched there at 154 public ramp.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you just went out there and picked it up. So let me just get this fish.
I went out there and I dropped the anchor just off the pier that's there.
Right.
And I sat there while everybody was launching their boat and everybody's wondering, I guess, what I was doing sitting there. And when it came time to start fishing, I started chunking and I caught a little fish, about 15 inches long, put it in the live well and went back to fishing. And I thought, I think I'm going to take that fish around there and weigh it and see if I can get an entry fee back. So
Yeah.
I ran around there. And
I mean, that's where I almost sunk the boat yesterday, day before yesterday.
Anyway, I ran around there, weighed the fish, weighed 1.66 pounds. Got bumped promptly. I called my wife, and she said, "What? You don't ever weigh anything that small. What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I thought I could get my entry fee back." She said,
Right.
"I never heard of you doing stuff like that." So I went back around and started fishing there again. Went on. Caught a few more little ones, so I went up in Glade, stayed up there 3 or 4 hours, and I had two weighing size fish.
Yeah.
In a live well. One that weighed, on my scales, I've got a set of digital scales that weighed 160 something, or 260 something, I'm sorry, which would have been a first place hourly fish if there wasn't an over.
Yeah.
So at 12 o'clock, I said, okay, let's go, and I'll hit a few spots on the way, and I'll weigh these two fish the last 2 hours. I ran down the lake to a place whose specific location will go unnamed. And threw the spinnerbait up in there, and a big fish hit it. So,
you know, I have ways of finding out where that was.
well, I'll tell you where it is. It's not a big deal. This little pocket right there.
Back up in there?
Yeah. Anyway, I caught the fish, and I measured it, and I said, hot dog. So I then I went to the weigh-in. I weighed that fish at the 2 o'clock hour. So, and when I took it up there.
Now, what that fish weigh now? It was
896.
896.
Yeah. And I took it up there and, what's Bass Champs? Chad Potts.
Yeah, Chad Potts. Yeah.
I said, I don't believe this. And I looked at him. I said, what? He said, we have a tie.
Right.
I said, what? He said, yeah, we got a tie. Somebody else weighed an 896 earlier this morning. Okay. So after they finished their formalities and we took pictures, I said, what's the tiebreaker? And he said, I don't know. We hadn't
thought about that.
So later that afternoon, I asked him again. He said, we've decided it'll be your biggest fish tomorrow. I said, okay. Or the second biggest fish you weigh in. Well, I had it 166 that way.
Yeah.
At 6 o'clock that morning, or 7 o'clock. I went out the next day and I caught slot fish. I must have caught 20 big slot fish, but I couldn't find anything that was over or anything bigger than that 166.
Oh, no.
I went around there to weigh in, and a guy that I was tied with didn't even show up. So I tell people I won a boat, a 20-foot skeeter with a bass that weighed 1.66 pounds.
Why didn't he show up?
He didn't have one that would beat the 166.
Oh, okay.
And its first place is a boat. Second place was the hourly check, and that's it.
Oh man! Oh God, that hurt.
That is the story. That is a true story.
Well, yeah, I actually read some of that. Now, some of that I didn't read, but
yeah, my wife said, "I guess you knew what you was doing." I said, "No, I really didn't."
So is that the boat you're driving now?
No. I traded. I traded the one that I won plus the one that I currently had in on this one.
Yeah.
And,
oh well, I mean that's a tale there. Well, right there is where I almost made an artificial reef.
adding to the tire.
Yeah, that